two kids from families who were opposing each other and so on. I can search that out. Oh God, dude, shut up! Yeah, thanks. And probably this guy who created that concept of the kids from different and opposing families, he maybe saw that in real life somewhere, or he took that idea from something else and created it into something more unique. This is what I was getting at.
Hey, let me jump in. So, like, for example, you guys are saying that, the ideas, there's not kind of any original ideas, but there's kind of just a synthesis. Somebody said that down in chat. Like, for example, take, for example, like a pencil. Like, some guy obviously came up with the idea to put all these elements together, but, if you were to ask that one guy to go ahead and make it all by himself, he couldn't do it because he doesn't have any knowledge of mining coal. He doesn't have any knowledge of, whittling it down to certain shapes. He certainly doesn't have the knowledge to be a lumberjack and cut down the trees and do all that sort of thing. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know, but these are apples and oranges you're comparing, though. There's some things that evolve little steps at a time. So yeah, you go from pencil to pen to computer. You know what I mean? I mean, it's all this way of conveying literacy in a sense. So I mean, yeah, you could see the evolution of a lot of things. The evolution of sunglasses, the evolution of, we could pick a million things and we'd see how it progressively, one step at a time, got better or improved. There's other things where the concept itself is invented. Where, the light bulb. Okay, I mean, a lot of people had the vision. So I mean, they had to understand. They had to understand the pieces, but they weren't just building on something that had been done before. They were taking it to a new level. So maybe that's not a good example, but the first airplane or something. I mean, these are transitions that are more than just gluing feathers on a car and saying it's a plane.
As far as like artistic things like movies, books, music, most artists of that sort are inspired by things. So even if something is completely original, like even a new type of music that is completely original, it's still inspired by everything that person experiences in their life. Like, every famous band that's unlike any other band was still inspired by other music and by events in their life. So you can be inspired and something can be, I guess, in your own mind original. How many times have you guys come up with an amazing joke or something and you find out on the internet that it's like a meme or it's popular? A friend of mine who owns the Marilyn Monroe bot website had that long before it was ever on Family Guy. And people keep asking, oh, did you get that from Family Guy? She's like, no, I've had this website for years. So it's like, to her, she came up with that. The writers of Family Guy saw the exact same correlation with the word Monroe and robots. So it's like, she didn't steal it, they didn't steal it, but people come up with the same ideas, and you can't always call plagiarism whenever it comes to like anything artistic.
Yeah, well, I don't think I'm
sorry,
being
I gotta
police
jump in
about
here,
it.
Gary.
No, I gotta jump in first because it's my room. Haha.
All right.
So, look, I'm not making a law here. I'm just trying to make a distinction between there's a hell of a lot of people who are not doing stuff that's very original, okay? They're just copying old themes, okay? Like the Honeymooners, Flintstones, Family Guy. I mean, these are all things. They're just bastardizations of each other. And that's a huge... I'm just saying there's a difference between that and when you do take just a few subtle pieces. Like Einstein took a bunch of subtle pieces and he twisted and bent it and came up with this, oh God, yes, who else was thinking about, oh yeah, space is like a plane, a fabric, and mass is like a weight and it sinks, and that's what creates this distortion in the space. And yeah, I mean, that is an invention, okay? So that's different than something that's just building upon, like I said, just painting on something that's already done or painting in a new color. So I'm just saying there's a difference. But yeah, I'm a determinist, so of course I believe people are inspired and they've got to have the ingredients. They've got to be put in the right place, and the mixing bowl and the whole thing is all determined. So Yeah, it's not a miracle. It's not magic. I'm just saying, let's be clear. There's some people that are, that come up with something original that's really, I mean, it really doesn't matter because there's no judgment involved here. So it's pointless to make a judgment. But I guess I'm just saying that it's nice to have a distinction between something that's just, somebody just took somebody else's book and rewrote it, and somebody who wrote a book.
I don't know, I'm probably just talking shit here. I mean, when I think of original, I think it all comes down to semantics. I'm just thinking of an idea in art. I was mainly talking a concept that somebody comes up with on their own, which for me it's kind of impossible. I mean, I would use maybe another word, maybe innovative or something, but I don't disagree with you. I agree with everything you said. I just think I have like a bias against the word for some reason. I don't know.
I hate George Lucas and all the rest of those guys and don't want them giving credit for anything because they stole everything. God damn it! But yeah, no, obviously they were creative. They did a lot of innovative work on the mechanics of the visual effects and a lot of other stuff. But yeah, the story was basically handed to them by that religious nut, and the characters were handed to him from other junky B movies from the 50s.
I'm in disagreement with you, Gary, about total originality. Even in science, uh, everybody recognises, they always say they're standing on the shoulders of giants that went before them. I think there are some bigger increments of invention and innovation. Nobody can claim total innovation, in my opinion.
Well, I'm not saying anybody can either. I think I just said that I believe in determinism, and you gotta have the parts. So you gotta be informed. So somebody you have to have the pieces to be able to put it together. But it's like the Edison thing or the Curie thing. I mean, you go through the list of the people that transcended. They went they went further than just gluing feathers on things. I mean, talking machine. Come on. you know, I mean, these are you know transitional things that can't just be minimized as being the same thing as retelling Shakespeare.
Because in science
That's
is not
uh,
about being as much creative necessarily. It's about discovering truth, which you do need imagination for. I mean, if you think about the germ theory of disease, there was some guy thinking that there are these invisible microscopical organisms who cause people to be sick, which was probably an insane idea at the time, but he had it, and this was a truth, a scientific truth.
Yeah, well, see that's another one though, where that one I could almost argue is almost an incremental discovery. Because they did get the telescope, which gave them the microscope essentially, and they were realizing that there were smaller organisms that they hadn't noticed before, and they just took it one step further and said, well, there's probably even more that we can't see. you know, really, really tiny ones. And so, yeah, I mean, that to me was sort of but yeah, look, there's no point in doing this. I don't wish to diminish anybody's creative or inspirational contributions. I'm I just don't want to mix Warhol and Shakespeare.
you brought up
You brought up
Einstein earlier.
Einstein earlier.
Uh,
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 I think sometimes his discoveries are held up as giant leap, but in reading, um, I read that they'd made observations measuring the speed of light, um, regarding different positions of the Earth in the solar system, about oncoming starlight, and I think it was about 5 years or 10 years maybe before Einstein made his discoveries. And given that observational data, it's almost expected that somebody would have made Einstein's theories had there been no Einstein, because the time space connection had to give in that measurement would have come along by somebody.
Well, yeah, relativity was sort of inevitable, I guess. I mean, as a conclusion. But what I'm saying, though, is that even if it was 20 years ahead or 5, whatever the number is, obviously people come up with something in a time scale, and certain knowledge is inevitable. The facts you'll gain enough. It's like Karina's example of the parasites. Sooner or later, we would have discovered them. It's like how soon somebody was able to put the facts together and point to it and say, oh yeah, it's like evolution. There was indications of it, and so some people could figure it out sooner than other people were able to figure it out, kind of a thing, that they were able to go there. And I'm just saying the part where Einstein was able to create a model that's very, it's very, very comfortable to our intuition. It's not an accurate model, but it's a good model because it demonstrates the function. You know what I mean? Because it's not a three-dimensional model. It's not accurate to how the real universe is working, but it just gives this perfect visualization of the mechanics. I mean, to me anyway, I remember when I first saw that visualization of a fabric, and mass creating the dimples in the fabric. I mean, to me that was just so brilliant as a way of seeing how gravity functions. Gotta turn your mic off. God, you people really don't know how to use Stickam, do ya? Have no fucking clue whatsoever. Jesus Christ. I just don't know how people can't figure out. You don't come into a room with your damn mic open. I mean, what the fuck?
Garrett, you started going on about the theism bit, and the God thing came up earlier. I'm just wondering, I've always been an atheist, but I don't know, I've been having trouble recently with the concept of an infinite time period. I'm just wondering how you deal with that, Zomgits Chris said, about some guy being needy, or was it yourself? I can relate to that to some degree.
Yeah, well, I can see the difficulty of the subject. I don't know what how do you deal with that idea of forever, past forever? That's even trickier. I mean, the forward one's impossible. Don't get me wrong, but it's almost like your brain can say, okay, yeah, all right, whatever, forever, but forever backwards? What do you know? It's not. No, you can't do that. Um, so yeah, so what the universe is doing and how it ever did it, I guess my argument would be it's pretty much irrelevant. I mean, it could be a one-time event. Everything could be a 1 in a gazillion odds. I mean, our unlikelihood could just be piled on one more huge irregularity in the normalcy of the universe, in that this eruption, this pimple of this explosion of matter, this could have been a defect in the system, a defect that only happened once in eternity. I mean, there's no rule against something happening once, even in an eternity. There's just no rule against it, because you can make something so convoluted, so bizarre, that it just won't happen. You could play the universe forever, and it'll only do this one thing one time. So it doesn't really deal in any way with the question of us. We could still be a one-time event. The universe, matter, could still be a one-time event. It could last until it burns itself out and collapses on itself, or it could refire again, or who knows? It could be an oscillating thing.